The company was handing out raises and promotions. Despite being the top performer with perfect attendance, I got labeled as zero contribution and demoted. The new supervisor, Alex, was a rookie. I didn't get it. But then Aaron, one of the senior execs, slid me $1,000 and said, "Work isn't just about doing tasks. You've got to learn how to play the game. Your numbers. Please. Most of that business came to you because of the company. Don't go thinking you're that important. This 1,000? Think of it as a personal bonus from me." I almost laughed. The arrogance. He was dressing it up like a favor, but the message was clear: they wanted me out. Make room for someone with connections. Fine. I handed in my resignation. And I didn't walk out empty-handed. I took my entire client list straight to our biggest competitor. You thought you could use me up and toss me aside? Cool. Let's see how long your numbers last once I'm gone, with your core accounts following me out the door. Back from lunch, I stepped into the office and caught the low murmur of conversation. It didn't take long to realize what everyone was buzzing about: the company's performance bonuses were out. And as the top sales rep of the year, with perfect attendance to boot, I figured mine had to be big. Listening in, I started running the numbers in my head. At the beginning of the year, Aaron had made it crystal clear: anyone who could boost their numbers would be looking at a raise and a promotion. No excuses. The top performer's bonus? 10% of their total sales. Straight up commission. Earn what you bring in. So I went all in. Pitching non-stop. Entertaining clients like it was a full-time job on top of my actual one. I worked every angle. And I delivered. Over $5 million in sales. The highest in the company. Which meant, by the book, I was owed a performance bonus of $500,000. I'd been counting down to this day for weeks. I already knew what I wanted: that dream car I'd been eyeing, a $20,000 trip each for my mom and dad, and the rest? Into savings. The thought of it all made me grin like an idiot. I couldn't help it. The smile just spread and wouldn't quit. The moment the workday ended on bonus day, I hopped on my bike, grinning the whole way to the car dealership. Once I bought that car, no more waking up early to cram into the subway. No more wind, rain, or sun beating down on me during the commute. Pete, the salesman, was already waiting when I arrived. I'd been dreaming about this car for a whole year, and today, it was finally mine. He greeted me with the usual over-polished politeness. I didn't waste time. I reached into my bag, pulled out my bank card, and laid it down with a grin. Let's do it. Full payment. This one. Pete took the card and ran it through the machine. Once. Twice. 3 times. Nothing. His smile started to crack. At first, it was polite confusion. Then came the fidgeting. By the 4th attempt, his expression turned sour, but with me standing right there, he forced a stiff smile and said, There seems to be an issue with the card. Want to try a different one?" I frowned. That can't be right. The bonus hit today. There's definitely more than enough in that account to cover the car. But no matter how many times Pete tried, the result didn't change. Payment failed. I hadn't linked that card to mobile banking, on purpose. I didn't want to tempt myself with impulsive spending. Now I was regretting that decision. I grabbed the card and bolted to the nearest ATM. Slid it in. Checked the balance. $2,000. That was the leftover from before. Which meant the bonus never landed in my account. I pulled out my phone and called Rachel in accounting. "Hey, I just wanted to check, has the company already issued the performance bonuses?" Rachel was one of the older employees. Slow with numbers sometimes, but always precise. That's exactly why I'd felt confident enough to head straight to the dealership after work. It never crossed my mind that the bonus wouldn't come through. She answered without hesitation. Yep, all done. Everything went out about an hour ago. I froze. Muttered something vague and hung up. All issued? That couldn't be right. Then where the hell was my $500,000? My brain kicked into overdrive. Only one move left. I needed to get back to the office and find Aaron. He and his crew had this habit of staying late. Not to actually get more done, but to be seen working hard. It was all theater. The bank was only about 500 meters from the office. I jumped back on my bike and pedaled like hell. When the elevator doors opened on our floor, I saw it. Aaron's office light was still on. Good. I walked straight in. Time for answers. Aaron was packing up when I walked in. The moment he saw me, his face shifted. Like he'd been expecting this. So, did someone forget to issue my performance bonus? I asked. Aaron casually brushed some dust off his hands and grabbed his phone. Oh, yeah. My bad, he said, like it was nothing. End of the month's just been crazy, you know how it is. Then he launched into a speech, calm as ever. Kevin, you're one of our top guys. A real asset. You're even in a leadership role. We've put a lot into developing your career here. He gave me this half-patronizing smile and went on. Now, sure, the company's numbers are up this year. But even with that $5 million in revenue you brought in, we're talking gross, not profit, after costs, margins, overhead. Truth is, the company just doesn't have the funds to pay out your bonus this year. He gave a light chuckle, like he was doing me a favor. So here's what I propose: next year, once the economy picks up, we'll make it up to you. Every penny, bonus plus interest. You have my word. Sound fair? It was total bullshit. Aaron was a department director. Whether the company had the funds or not wasn't even his call when it came to issuing bonuses. And let's be real, just from my numbers alone, the department pulled in over $5 million. That didn't even include what the other teams brought in. A company this size can't scrape together $500,000 for its top performer? Yeah, right. Let's be real. Out of the $5 million I brought in, even after expenses, the company had to have cleared at least $2 million in pure profit. And this wasn't some vague promise. They'd made the incentive crystal clear from day one: whoever took the top spot in sales would get 10% of their numbers as a bonus. So that 10%? That $500,000? That was mine. Earned. Locked in. Whether the company was making money or bleeding cash, that wasn't my problem. I was an employee, not a shareholder. They set the rules. Now they needed to follow through. You can't just change the policy on a whim. I snapped. We've been killing ourselves all year for this performance bonus. You said it yourself, top sales gets 10%. That's what I worked for. Aaron's expression darkened. Then suddenly, he motioned me toward a corner and lowered his voice. All right, look, he whispered. Here's $500, from me. Not from the company. Just, a personal token of appreciation. He pulled out his wallet and handed over the cash like it was some kind of peace offering. I stared at the bills, my fists tightening. My stomach turned. Are you serious? Is this supposed to be a joke? You think this is anything other than an insult? He must have seen my face flush red, anger boiling over. I'm 6 feet 0 inches, young, and healthy. He's in his 40s, barely 5 feet 9 inches, scrawny behind his glasses, and definitely not built for confrontation. So he panicked. Pulled more cash from his wallet and pushed it toward me. Okay, look. Here's $1,000. Just for you. Off the books. But you can't tell anyone. Got it? Keep it quiet. It's late, go home, cool off, get some rest. And just like that, before I could say a word, Aaron grabbed his things and slipped out. Gone. Leaving me alone in the empty office, cold air blowing through the hallway, holding a wad of hush money and choking on rage. I stared at the $1,000 in my hand, and the longer I looked at it, the worse it felt. A whole year of grinding, late nights, endless client calls, pushing past burnout, and this was how the company repaid me? This money didn't feel like a bonus. It felt like charity. Like tossing coins at a beggar and calling it generosity. Then my phone rang. It was George, a colleague. He sounded on the verge of tears. "Man, what's going on with the performance bonuses this year?" he sniffled. "I mean, sure, my numbers weren't great, but $1,000? Seriously? I was planning to finally grab that PS5. Now this won't even cover my girlfriend's skincare routine." And then he said it. "Hey, did you hear? That guy Alex, you know, Aaron's nephew, he got a $100,000 bonus. Not that it's anywhere near what you should have gotten. I mean, you're the department's top performer." My brain short-circuited. Wait, what? Alex. The new guy. Aaron's nephew. Got $100,000? Before George could finish, I hung up. I'd stopped listening anyway. My eyes had locked onto my inbox. There it was, an email. Subject line bold, name front and center. It was from the company. And it had my name written all over it. Company announcement. Alex is promoted to sales department manager due to his outstanding initiative. Kevin is reassigned to logistics and promoted to department head. What? I'd been moved to logistics? Sure, on paper it looked like a promotion, my title had changed. But anyone who understood how this place worked knew the truth, logistics wasn't even close to the sales department in terms of pay or influence. Sales had base salary plus commissions. Big ones. This wasn't a step up. It was a quiet demotion dressed up to look respectable. A setup. A push out the door. Logistics department head sounded nice. But the paycheck? Fixed. Flat. No bonuses. No upside. And at the end of the year? That standard $500 holiday bonus, like clockwork, no matter how much you worked or what you brought in. This was their move. They were trying to get me to quit. No severance. No ugly HR paperwork. Just a clean exit. What they didn't understand was, I saw right through it. In sales, time is money. Every hour you're not closing, you're losing. If I stayed here, I wouldn't just be wasting time, I'd be throwing money away. And I don't play that game. So right then and there, I opened my laptop, pulled up a blank document, and typed out my resignation letter. You used me. Squeezed every dollar you could from my numbers. Then tried to toss me aside when I was no longer convenient. Fine. Let's see how well you perform once I walk out the door, with your core clients following me. I was still finalizing my resignation letter when my phone rang. It was Pete from the dealership. You still buying the car? He asked. I paused for a few seconds before answering. Not for now, I said quietly. But Pete didn't let up. He kept pitching, pushing, selling. Of course I knew the car was great. I'd been dreaming about it for over a year. I wasn't hesitating because I didn't want it. Then Pete's tone shifted. If you're really not going through with it, he said, you should know, the deposit's non-refundable. That hit hard. This wasn't just any car. It was the car. The one I'd spent months picturing in my driveway. My escape from the grind. Back when Pete first showed it to me, he'd urged me to put down a deposit. Said it was a hot model, always in short supply. Best deal on the lot, and everyone wanted it. A deposit was the only way to hold it. I figured, no problem. The year-end bonus was just a few months away. With $500,000 coming in, this car would be a drop in the bucket. So I paid $10,000 up front. Locked it in. We'd agreed, I'd pay the rest by year's end and drive it home. But Aaron had blown that entire plan to pieces. Still, I couldn't just let it go. I asked, cautiously. Is there any way you can hold the car a little longer? Pete hesitated, then said. When you made the deposit, the contract said full payment by year end. Technically, we've already passed that deadline. You're in breach. He paused, softening his tone. But it is a popular car. I've had people asking about it every day. Here's what I can do, I'll hold it for 3 more days. If you can pay the rest within that window, we'll pretend none of this happened. Sound fair? 3 days. That's all I had. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, I couldn't just walk away. Not from the car. Not from the bonus. Not from the way they were trying to shove me out like I didn't matter. This was my $500,000. I earned every cent of it. And I wasn't going to slink away empty-handed. So I grabbed my coat, threw on my winter jacket, and headed downstairs. Got on my bike. And rode straight to Aaron's apartment building. Time to get what I came for. Just as I arrived, I saw them, Alex and Aaron, pulling up in the same car. Aaron stepped out first. I barely had time to move when Alex came striding up to me. "What the hell are you doing here?" he snapped. I gave him a cold smile. "Relax. This has nothing to do with you. I'm here to see Aaron." But Alex wasn't done. He immediately started in with that smug, punchable tone. "Let me guess. This is about the bonus, right? $1,000 wasn't enough? That's a lot of money for someone like you, isn't it? You should be grateful. A regular grunt like you could buy a ton of stuff with that. Word of advice? Don't get greedy. Or you might lose even more than you already have." Greedy? I wasn't being greedy. I was asking for what I earned. The deal was clear. I snapped. Top sales gets 10% as a performance bonus. I closed $5 million in sales, that's $500,000. I earned that bonus. Not a damn handout. I was shouting now. The words echoing into the empty parking lot. But there was no one around. Just rows of silent cars. No witnesses. No one to hear the fury boiling out of me. That's when Aaron finally approached. "You weren't satisfied raising hell at the office? You had to come harass me at home too?" he barked. "Are you insane?" He crossed his arms, voice like ice. He crossed his arms, voice like ice. "You keep going on about this $500,000 bonus. Who told you that? Huh? Where's your proof? You got anything in writing? You got a contract that says that number?" The shift was complete. No more pretending. Aaron had gone from polite deflections to full-on gaslighting. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a cover-up. And they thought they could bury me under it. Alex watched as Aaron hurled insults at me, and of course, he couldn't resist jumping in. "Still not satisfied with your $1,000? All right then, how about this? You get down on your knees and apologize. Right here. To me and Aaron. You do that, and I might consider throwing you $5,000. But that's it. This whole thing ends there. You stay in logistics, I stay in sales, and we pretend we don't know each other from now on. No more chasing Aaron around, got it?" Unbelievable. Before I could even respond, Aaron cut in, furious. "Give him $5,000? That'd be a complete waste. He sneered. You think you're some sales genius? You need to take a long hard look in the mirror. Those deals you closed? That wasn't because of you. Clients signed out of respect for the company. Don't kid yourself. He gave me a slow, dismissive once-over, head to toe, like I wasn't even worth the breath he was using. It was all I could do not to explode on the spot. You serious right now? I snapped. So now I'm lying? I'm making this all up? We had a clear deal. 10% for top sales. You said it. Everyone knew it. And now you act like it never happened? I was shaking, my voice rising with every word. You think those clients came to us because of your fancy company letterhead? I was out there grinding, hitting doors, making calls, chasing leads. Begging, if I had to. Building trust one painful step at a time. You think they gave a damn about the company name? No. They signed because they saw me busting my ass for it. Because I made it personal. Because I made it real. Our company isn't even a major player in the industry. We're not market leaders. We don't have the best prices. But you know what we do have? Salespeople like me, who actually give a damn. That's what moved deals forward. And now they were rewriting history to strip me of everything I built. Between two suppliers with the same margins, what do you think makes the difference? Simple. They'll pick the one they like more. And they liked me. Not because I wore a fancy suit or dropped buzzwords. But because I showed up, constantly. I was the one taking meetings no one else wanted. The one showing up at dinners, weekends, birthdays, you name it. Negotiating, apologizing, salvaging deals that should have fallen apart. If I hadn't been the one holding the relationships together, this whole department would have collapsed months ago. Aaron has no idea. If I weren't the face of this company to those clients, they would have jumped ship long ago and signed with our competitors, companies that actually looked legit on paper. I kept those partnerships alive. With patience. With presence. With precision. On every major holiday, I'd prep gifts, personalized ones. I'd spend days racking my brain figuring out what each client might actually want. What would make them smile? What would make them feel seen? Last month, Mr. Morgan's daughter turned 5. She told her dad she wanted a 3-meter-tall Elsa doll. So I flew to Japan and brought it back myself. That's what this job demands. It's not just remembering a client's birthday. It's remembering their spouses. Their kids. Knowing when to send a gift, and when a simple text will mean more. That's why they trusted me. That's why they chose us. Some of them even told me outright, if you didn't work for that company, I wouldn't even consider them. But since you're there, I'll give it a shot. Our company? We're not exactly top tier. No name recognition, no big contracts, no reputation. But I made us feel like a contender. And this job? It doesn't end at 6 p.m. There's no clocking out. Sales is 24/7. Always on. Always available. Always trying to stay one step ahead. Alex suddenly burst out laughing. Are you serious? He scoffed. The company's been stringing you along with fairy tales just to keep you grinding. Who else is gonna run around and chase clients for us? He shot Aaron a smug look, like he'd just cracked the code. Aaron chimed in, cold and condescending. Guys like you, no connections, no background, you should be doing the grunt work. If we didn't dangle big rewards in front of you, you'd all be happy just collecting base pay and slacking off. That whole performance bonus story? It's just there to keep people like you motivated. So you don't get lazy. So you hustle harder. In the end, it's the company doing you a favor. Teaching you discipline. Helping you break your bad habits. You should be grateful. I stared at him. Honestly, I had to admire his nerve. With spin like that, he should be the sales director. Then Alex added his own little ego boost. Don't get too cocky. You think high numbers make you special? Our company's supply chain is solid, that's why people work with us. If I took over your client list, they'd still stick around. You really think the world stops spinning without you? I'll show you what I can do. You'll see my numbers soon enough, and maybe then you'll stop acting like you're God's gift to sales. Flattering clients? That's easy. Anyone can do that. I gave him a slow, sharp smile. Great. I'll be watching. Then I pulled the resignation letter from my bag, turned my wrist, and slapped it right in front of them. Because I'm done. Here's my resignation. Take it. Frame it. Burn it. I don't care. Just don't expect me to waste another second helping this clown show make money. I turned to walk away. But I didn't leave. I slipped behind the stairwell next to the elevator, just out of view, and waited. I needed to know what they'd say once they thought I was gone. Their voices echoed faintly through the corridor. Kevin really thought he had power, huh? Alex snorted. What an idiot. But, won't the company care that he quit just like that? Aaron laughed. Please. The company's biggest fear is someone outshining management. Sure, the guy delivered, but once you start giving out big bonuses, every top performer will expect the same. And then what? We go broke trying to keep up. No thanks. Alex sounded lost. So, what? You just starve them out? Aaron's tone dropped, sharper now. Almost proud. You moron. That's exactly what we do. The company knows what I'm doing. They back it. That $500,000 bonus? He was never going to see a dime. We gave you $100,000 just to push him over the edge. Make him quit before he figured it out. I stood frozen in the dark. So it was all planned. Every year, the top rep walks. Not because they burn out. But because the company cuts them off before they become too expensive. This wasn't incompetence. It was policy. They used us up, then tossed us out. They knew exactly what I brought to the table. Every sacrifice. Every win. And they decided I was too valuable to keep. I'd always thought the system was broken. Now I knew, it was built that way. That $10,000 deposit? The $500,000 I was owed? Forget it. Let it burn. It cost me everything, sure. But it also bought me the truth. And finally, I was free. The elevator dinged. Alex and Aaron stepped inside and disappeared behind the closing doors. I headed home. Still on my bike, but something was different now. I wasn't riding with anger, I was riding with purpose. Back at my apartment, I sent the resignation email to HR. The printed copy was already in Aaron's hands. Now it was official. Then I made another call. Terry? You free? It was the senior recruiter from that high-level talent agency. He'd reached out to me 3 times over the past year, always trying to lure me away. I'd turned him down each time. I used to believe in loyalty. In growing with a company. In staying where I'd already built something. But loyalty means nothing to people who weaponize it. So this time, I was ready. Is that company you mentioned still hiring? I asked. Terry lit up on the other end. You're finally ready to make a move? Kevin, you have no idea how fast people will fight to get you. I've had multiple companies asking about you. This time, I had somewhere to go with all this anger. And something better to fight for. We scheduled a meeting at his office. Before I left, he reminded me, again and again, that if I made this move, I had to be all in. No turning back. I just smiled. Don't worry. I'm not going back. The next day, it was official. I signed with the new company. They offered me more than they ever had before, even more than I expected. Better pay, better benefits, and an extra 15 days of vacation. The bonus structure was more modest, but fair, 3 months' salary, with commissions stacked separately. But here's what mattered: every clause, every condition, every dollar, written down in the contract, plain as day. No smoke. No mirrors. I read every word. Then I signed. Just a few days left until Christmas. Once the holiday passed, I'd be stepping into my new role, as director of sales. The Christmas break flew by. Right after the holidays, I officially started at the new company. And I didn't come alone. I brought a war chest of client contacts with me, relationships I'd spent years building, one call, one dinner, one favor at a time. Over the holidays, I reached out to each of them with a simple season's greeting. Just checking in. Catching up. Sliding the news in, casually: I've moved on to a new firm. Their reactions? Mostly teasing. Took you long enough, one of them said, laughing. Honestly, another joked, we were wondering when you'd finally come to your senses. What I didn't expect was how fast they moved. A few of them had contracts up for renewal right after the new year. And once they heard I was gone, they didn't even hesitate. They walked away from my old company, without a second thought. It wasn't about pricing. It wasn't about service. It was about trust. About me. They weren't doing business with the company, they were doing business with me. That evening, right as I was wrapping up my day, my phone buzzed. It was George. Man, I'm so done, he sighed the second I picked up. What's going on? I asked, half smiling. Busy at work? He vented for a few minutes, but it clearly wasn't enough. So we made plans to meet at a restaurant near the old office after work. When we sat down, George didn't waste time. You really left me hanging, man, he said. It's chaos without you. I raised an eyebrow. Oh? What's been happening? George let it all spill. Ever since you quit, the company's been bleeding. Clients are bailing left and right. We lost over $2 million in contracts already. Everyone's scrambling. I couldn't help the small smile that tugged at my lips. Because I knew exactly which clients he was talking about. They'd followed me not because I begged, but because I earned their loyalty. And once I was out, they realized they had no reason to stay. At the end of the day, business is simple. Profits talk. Everything else fades. And the company I'm at now? Their pricing is sharper. Their terms cleaner. The value's obvious. In this game, sentiment means nothing. Relationships? Only good as long as they produce results. I kept digging, curious how things were unraveling at my old company. What I found didn't surprise me. Since Alex took over as head of sales, the department had nosedived. The structure changed. Incentives dropped. Morale tanked. Alex himself? Hopeless. Week after week, he showed up to department meetings empty-handed. Not a single deal closed. Not even one. Sure, he was Aaron's nephew, but even nepotism has limits. You can't cover up failure forever. Honestly, I give it a few more weeks. Maybe less. He's already circling the drain. Funny thing is, this was the same guy who stood in front of me, puffed up with fake confidence, claiming he'd outperform me. The same guy Aaron defended by saying my wins only happened because the company's name opened doors. Now? I'd love to say it to their faces. Look at you now. Absolute failures. After dinner with George, I headed home. He'd filled me in on everything: the mess Alex was making, and how badly the rest of the team was suffering. Turns out, to cover his own incompetence, Alex started taking credit for his team's sales. Every week, he claimed their numbers as his own, just to make his report look less pathetic. And Aaron let him. Why? Because if Alex looked bad, he looked bad too. But there's only so long people will stay quiet when you start stealing their commissions. That's not just ego, it's their paycheck. Eventually, even the quietest people snap. According to George, the entire sales team had finally had enough. They marched straight to Aaron and demanded answers. But Aaron did what he always does, nothing. He protected his nephew. They couldn't go over his head. No authority. No channel. Just silence. That's when I looked at George and asked, "You ever think about jumping ship?" His answer was instant. Hell yes. Within a week, George brought over half the sales team with him. And me? I welcomed every single one. I'm a director now. I've got hiring power. And we needed strong people, people I could trust. The timing was perfect. In one move, I stacked our bench with experienced closers and stripped my old company of its backbone. I offered to help the former team move their things to the new company. That was the excuse, anyway. Truth was, I wanted to see it with my own eyes. The look on their faces. Alex. Aaron. Watching the empire they thought they controlled collapse from the inside out. As we neared the sales department, I didn't even need to step inside to hear Alex losing it. His voice echoed from behind the glass. Kevin? Kevin is nothing. What makes him so special? The other company must be blind hiring someone like him as a director. Then he looked up. And there I was, standing calmly right across from him. He froze mid-rant. Mouth still half open. Suddenly silent. I smiled. Unbothered. Cold. Precise. It's been a while, I said. Still no impressive numbers to show, huh? His eyes lit with rage. You smug bastard, he snapped. You used dirty tricks to steal our clients, and now you've poached the entire sales team. Big deal. Sales talent is everywhere. I'll hire fresh blood. You think this is over? Then he turned to the remaining employees and exploded. You useless parasites. You're the problem. No contracts, no hustle, no wonder he dumped you. Get the hell out. I'll replace every one of you. He didn't stop there. Red-faced, wild, he actually lunged at one of them. That's when the phones came out. A few colleagues, already fed up, started recording. Every word. Every threat. Every swing. Within hours, the footage hit the internet. And it blew up. Thousands of shares. Comment sections full of outrage. People tore into the company for its toxic culture, zero accountability, and total lack of professionalism. It didn't take long for the press to pick it up. By the end of the day, the company had earned a brand new nickname from the media. Worst Employer of the Year. Under the mounting pressure, Aaron finally cracked. Even he couldn't protect Alex anymore. They issued a vague internal memo. Alex, suspended. Indefinitely. Pending review. Justice, at last. Not through revenge. Just the truth, served loud, clear, and public. It was justice. Watching Alex fall apart in public? That felt damn good. But Aaron? The real puppet master behind it all? He got away clean. And I wasn't okay with that. Still, there wasn't much I could do, for now. Work had exploded since I joined the new company. New systems, new team dynamics, a whole new ecosystem to learn. And I had to lead from day one. Luckily, I didn't have to build everything from scratch. Most of my old sales team had come with me. We clicked back into rhythm like we never left. The only thing new was the backdrop, and the budget. We weren't just rebuilding. We were scaling. Finally, the year rolled to a close. Bonus season. And once again, the top performer? Me. Since joining, I'd doubled the company's annual revenue. Doubled. The board was ecstatic. So much so that they started seriously talking IPO. If things kept up, we'd be preparing to go public this time next year. And because of the results, the chairman made a surprise announcement. This year's sales bonuses will be doubled across the board. George and the rest of the core team each got $50,000. For them, it was life-changing. For me, as director, I already had a $100,000 performance bonus lined up, plus my personal commission-based incentive, based directly on the revenue I'd driven. In total, $1 million. 7 figures. Clean. Deserved. Documented. This time, no tricks. No vanishing funds. No excuses. And with that money, I finally bought the car I'd been eyeing since last year. Not just reserved it, owned it. I also dropped the down payment on my first home. No more public transport. No more shared walls. This year, I didn't just survive. I arrived. Word started to spread. Things at my old company had gone from bad to worse. George called me just to laugh about it. "Guess who's camping outside the building now?" he said. Apparently, Alex, bitter, suspended, and spiraling, had been making scenes at the company's entrance for days. Screaming. Accusing. Demanding to be reinstated. Security eventually had to drag him off the property. Aaron? The man who once stood so smugly above it all? He didn't even come out to help his nephew. No loyalty. Not when the business was bleeding and the brand was burning. Then came the annual bonus ceremony at my new company. We kept it classy, but the mood was electric. I made sure every moment was captured. Photos. Videos. Smiles all around. Everyone in the sales department holding up their performance checks like trophies. Real checks. Real numbers. Real recognition. I edited it all into one clean highlight reel. Then I posted it on Instagram. The caption? Let's just say it wasn't subtle. It was a quiet, savage shot at my old company. A burn dressed up as celebration. Beneath the polish, the message was clear. Remember when they said I didn't deserve it? This is what deserving looks like. The post went viral. Turns out, a lot of people had stories like mine. Young professionals. Burned-out grinders. People who had been underpaid, undermined, and unappreciated. The comments section turned into a support group. Some were angry. Some were inspired. But one thing was consistent: they understood. Even clients chimed in. They commented, messaged, told me they were proud. That they knew I was right to leave. That they were glad they followed. And then the internet did what it does best. It found Aaron. Houston's not that big. Neither is the executive circle. People connected the dots. Fast. With the company already in decline after losing its top clients, and with its reputation now being dragged across social media, they couldn't take the heat. They needed a scapegoat. And who better than the man who built the system that failed? They cut him loose. Just like he once tried to do to me. Aaron. Terminated. Quietly. Without ceremony. No bonus. No glory. No sympathy. Only fitting. Eventually, word got around that my former company couldn't survive the competition. To avoid further market conflict and embarrassment, they packed up and relocated to Miami. It didn't help. Meanwhile, I kept climbing. What started as a sales director role turned into something more. Within a year, I was promoted to the executive team. Strategy, growth, expansion, I was now shaping the future of the company, not just closing deals. George took over sales. He'd earned it. Loyal, sharp, battle-tested. My salary? It tripled. From $300,000 to $1 million a year. That house I bought with a mortgage? Paid off, early. The BMW I'd once dreamed of driving? Traded in for a Porsche. One evening, George and I headed out to meet a client. Dinner, drinks, the usual small talk that turns into long-term contracts. By the end of the night, we were laughing, buzzed, swaying slightly as we made our way across the outdoor parking lot, scanning the rows of cars. And then I saw him. A figure I hadn't seen in what felt like years. Alex. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Just the whiskey playing tricks. But no. It was him. Only, not the same. The Alex I remembered? Designer suits, drenched in Chanel cologne, always flexing through tight Armani dress shirts to show off a gym-built body full of muscle and ego. This Alex? Something was different. His shoulders sagged. His clothes looked dated, wrinkled. That signature scent? Gone. Or maybe just drowned by the smell of cheap deodorant and colder air. We hadn't said a word yet. But the silence said everything. Alex was barely recognizable. Unshaven. Bloated. His once-taut frame now buried under a soft gut and cheap, wrinkled clothes. The man who used to obsess over his appearance, spritzing Chanel, flexing Armani, now looked like he hadn't seen a mirror in days. As he shuffled across the parking lot, he rubbed his nose absent-mindedly. Maybe he sensed something. Maybe it was just instinct. Then he saw us. His eyes narrowed. "Well, look at you now," he muttered, voice low and bitter. "Living the dream, huh?" There was venom in every word. Because he knew I'd played a part in his fall. Knew I'd succeeded in all the ways he once pretended he could. George and I didn't say a thing. We just kept walking, pretending not to hear him, ready to let the past stay dead. But Alex wasn't done. With a sudden shout, he slammed the beer bottle he'd been holding to the ground, glass shattering across the pavement. Before we could react, he dropped to his knees, grabbed a jagged shard, and lunged. He grabbed my arm, hard. "You don't deserve this," he shouted, eyes wild. "None of you do. That life, it was supposed to be mine." His voice cracked mid-rant, and suddenly, he broke. He was crying. Loud, sloppy, broken sobs. George froze, wide-eyed, instantly sobered. For a split second, he looked to me for direction. I gave him a sharp glance. "Call the cops." He got the message. Quietly pulled out his phone and sent a text. Then, with a calm voice that only barely masked his fear, he tried to defuse the bomb in front of us. "Alex, hey, just breathe, okay? Look, we can help you. We can talk to someone. Maybe even help you find a job." That was the wrong move. Alex snapped again, eyes blazing. "A job? From you? From you pathetic assholes? I don't want your pity. I don't want your help. I want you to suffer." He jerked the glass tighter in his grip. I didn't move. Didn't speak. One wrong word and he'd break. So I did the only thing I could. I kept my mouth shut. And waited, for sirens. The police arrived quickly, lights flashing across the dim lot. But Alex wasn't calming down. He was pacing, yelling, eyes bloodshot and wild. The broken glass still glinted in his hand. The officers kept a cautious distance, trying to talk him down, but nothing got through. Eventually, they made the call, get someone from his family on site. Minutes passed. Then, a familiar figure stepped out of a car. Aaron. I hadn't seen him in almost 2 years. But the difference was stark. Gone was the tailored confidence, the tight jaw, the arrogant posture of a man in control. His hair had thinned, his back hunched slightly, his face drawn with fatigue. He looked small. Worn down. Like someone who'd watched everything he built fall through his fingers. As he approached, Alex turned sharply. And exploded. Why the hell would you bring him? He's one of them. He made me like this. His voice cracked. His whole body shook. While the chaos swirled, I felt Alex's grip on my arm loosen. I yanked myself free and stepped back fast, far enough to be out of range. Alex stumbled, too drunk and frenzied to chase me. But he spun and grabbed the nearest thing, Aaron. He fisted his uncle's collar, spit flying from his mouth as he screamed. I'm not letting this go. You ruined me. You were supposed to protect me. You said the company was mine. You said I'd rise. And now what? You can't even show your damn face in public without people whispering. Look what you did to me. Aaron didn't even resist. He just stood there, stiff, hollow-eyed, barely blinking. It wasn't guilt. Not even regret. It was defeat. The same man who once pulled strings behind closed doors, now reduced to an old man being screamed at by his own failure. A failure he created. The officers moved in, finally separating them. Alex kept shouting as they led him away, his voice cracking from rage and tears. Aaron stood still, clothes rumpled, collar twisted, face pale under the parking lot lights. He didn't say a word. Because really, what was left to say? The empire was gone. The mask was off. And the weight of every lie had finally come home to collect. Aaron finally spoke. Cold. Detached. Bitter in a way that had nothing to do with guilt, and everything to do with wounded pride. I already did everything I could for you, he snapped at Alex. I got rid of Kevin for you. I gave you that sales director title. And what did you do with it? Nothing. I showed you how to take credit from your team, hell, I covered for you when it backfired. When you got caught with your little tantrum on video, I still cleaned up your mess. And even then, you couldn't keep it together. Couldn't shut up, even in public. Aaron's voice was rising now, frustration pouring out like poison. You used to insult me behind my back. I let that slide. But now? Now you drag me down in front of everyone. You think I'm the President of the United States or something? You think I can fix this? He scoffed, eyes hard. You're not a victim, Alex. You're just incompetent. Then he looked up. And saw me. His eyes narrowed, and his voice curled into something darker. And you. If it weren't for you pushing so hard for that damn bonus, none of this would have happened. I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. I just let the silence sit for a second, and then I laughed. Cold. Clean. Controlled. That bonus, I said, was mine. You don't get to play victim when you broke the deal. You dangled that promise like bait. 10% for the sales champion, remember? I took it seriously. I built your numbers. I burned my time, my weekends, my health for it. I gave up everything to make your department shine. And how did you repay that? You gave my role to a walking liability and handed me a cardboard box. Aaron opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Because he knew. He knew he was wrong. He always had been. But ego doesn't let men like him apologize. It only lets them rot in silence. I stepped closer. Just enough for him to hear me clearly. You bet on the wrong man, Aaron. You built your empire on lies, favoritism, and excuses. I built mine on results. And tonight, you're standing in a parking lot being screamed at by the nephew you threw everything away for. I paused. Then said it plain. You deserve each other. By now, the commotion had drawn a crowd. People stopped mid-step, peeking from behind parked cars, phones raised. The blue and red flashes lit up the whole lot, sirens a dull hum under the rising tension. I stood tall, centered in it all. One last time, I let the truth out, loud and clear. For the record, I said, you brought this on yourselves. I stayed with your company. I gave it everything. I ran deals that kept your lights on. And what did I get? You cut my bonus. You rigged the game. You shoved me out so you could promote someone who couldn't close a vending machine. You took my loyalty and treated it like leverage. I looked Aaron straight in the eye. So I left. I proved myself. And guess what? Turns out, I was never the lucky one. You were. I turned to the crowd, lifted my hand, and flashed the keys. Car. House. Earned in 1 year. This is what happens when you invest in someone who shows up. This is what happens when people bet on results, not politics. The crowd murmured. Some clapped. But for Alex? It was too much. Too public. Too final. The moment he saw those keys, he snapped. Glass still clutched in his hand, he screamed, and lunged. Straight at me. But the officers saw it coming. They warned him once. Then drew. One shot. Alex hit the ground before anyone else could move. The glass slipped from his hand. The silence that followed was deafening. Aaron stumbled back, lost his footing in the panic, and fell, hard. His scream pierced the hush as his jaw slammed against the curb. Blood. Teeth. Humiliation. The crowd didn't flinch. Phones didn't stop filming. By morning, the footage had gone viral. Aaron's face, busted and bloodied, was the new face of corporate decay. The headlines were merciless. From nepotism to nightmare, a company's collapse in one parking lot. Aaron had no choice. He fled the city. Left behind everything he once ruled, his company, his reputation, and his pride. I helped lead the company to a successful IPO. The numbers spoke for themselves. The groundwork I laid, the clients I brought, the trust one rebuilt, all of it added up. The board took notice. The market did too. Once it was done, I made a decision. No press tour. No celebration gala. I just left. Transferred quietly to the New York branch. I wanted distance, from the noise, the drama, the ghosts of people I'd already outgrown. They made me the general manager. Full control. A clean slate. George came with me. Loyalty like that? You don't leave it behind. We settled in fast. I bought a compact apartment in Manhattan, nothing flashy, just smart, central, mine. Picked up a Benz for city driving. Sleek. Understated. My life now? Steady. Structured. Mine. Every morning, I walk into an office where respect isn't earned twice, it's built in. Every night, I go home to a space I created, not a cage I tolerated. Sometimes I think back. If I hadn't spoken up when I did. If I'd swallowed the injustice just to keep the peace. I'd still be at that old company. Grinding. Getting nothing. Being nothing. Loyal. Invisible. Replaceable. But I did speak up. I did walk out. And now? I have the house. The car. The income. The freedom. But more than that, I have proof. That standing up for yourself? It doesn't ruin your life. It starts it. So if you're reading this, stuck in a place that undervalues you, let me be clear. Being brave will cost you. But staying silent will cost you more. Be brave. It's worth it.